Welcome to my travel vlog in new continent, new country, new city that I'm visiting today. Sydney, Australia.
Recording?
Yes, this is my friend Diane. Diane, say hi, hello. So now we are taking a shortcut from the hotel, from our hotel, to see the opera house. So Diane knows those secrets, and we took those secret stairs, and we will be walking right over there to catch glimpses and photos of opera house. We took some photos of the beautiful opera house. We took some photo of the harbor bridge. A gorgeous area to walk around Sydney, but that's just the beginning of our adventure. Sydney is Australia's largest and most famous city. With over 5 million people and more than 100 beaches, it is a city where urban life and nature live side by side. It is not the capital of Australia. Canberra is. And how did Sydney get its name? The city was named after Lord Sydney, the British Home Secretary, who sent the first fleet of convicts to establish the colony here in 1788. Today, it has grown into one of the most multicultural cities on earth, with nearly 40% of residents born overseas. Sydney offers a lifestyle full of sunshine, culture, and adventure. In fact, people here enjoy around 300 sunny days a year, even more than Los Angeles. The harbor is the largest natural harbor in the world, with over 240 kilometers, 150 miles, of shoreline. The New Year's Eve fireworks over Sydney Harbor are among the biggest and most watched celebrations worldwide. And here I arrived at the mall in Queen Victoria area to shop and to get some coffee. So I'm on George Street, right here. And this is like the longest street in Sydney, where you have tons of stores, places to eat. We just passed Chinatown. So when you want to be in the center and have some fun or nightlife, that's the place to come, George Street. One of the most enjoyable things for me when traveling is integrate with the culture of the place. And I do that by connecting with local people. I was very lucky to have invitation to my friend's birthday party near Sydney. Bridget, birthday. Hello. Beautiful.
Take a few photos with kind of each table and couch over the next 5 or 10 minutes, then we're going to start the formalities, if that's alright. So keep recording, keep the drinks full. Cheers to Mum, happy birthday, hey?
Most of all, I just don't want to be free. Ooh.
You look at me, oh, it's for the only one I see. The mama, che Sana, so well.
What you just observed is the haka, that is a traditional ceremonial dance of the Maori people of New Zealand. And that is where my friend's roots originate from. This wonderful celebration was filled out with performances, karaoke singing, dancing, and atmosphere of love and laughter. And now let me show you where I stayed at in Sydney, which is good location for accommodation when traveling here. And also let's go for the Sydney tour with multiple stops around the city. So this is Circular Quay area right by the Opera House, and this is where I'm staying and where my hotel is. It is more or less on the other side. So I walked around the station. There is a metro, railway, train station right here. Wonderful connection. What a great area to stay at. And obviously you also have a harbor there, Harbor Bridge, and Opera House right behind those buildings. So if you looking for a place to stay in Sydney, Australia, it is phenomenal. You have connections to everything and you're in the middle of it. And I'm going for a tour today all around Sydney with multiple stops. So you're gonna learn about all those places in detail as we go. But for now, right before the tour start, I came out here.
Opera House was opened in 1973 and ended up costing nearly $105 million to construct. It went almost double over budget. And that was because of the infighting between the architect Jørn Utzon, Danish architect Jørn Utzon, and the construction crew. In a nutshell, the construction crew wouldn't listen to Jørn's instructions and he ultimately quit the job and returned back to Denmark. When he quit, Australian architect Peter Hall took over, and eventually, as I said, it was completed and opened in 1973, well behind schedule and well over budget. One of the key concerns that Jørn had about the Opera House was the acoustics. Now, if I know anything about music and operas and concerts, acoustics is fairly important. But they wouldn't listen to him and they installed inferior sound systems and acoustic insulation. And then around 20 years ago that all had to be replaced because Jørn was correct. Unlike the Opera House, ran almost like clockwork. It took just 9 years to construct, with around 1,400 men working on the bridge, both here and in the United Kingdom. How are they working on it in the United Kingdom? Well, that is where the steel was produced and shipped over. 53,000 tonnes of steel produced and shipped over for the construction of the bridge. 6 million rivets hold the bridge together, and each of those was placed by hand by gangs of 3. First man had a coal stove that he would heat the rivets up to the appropriate temperature. He would throw them to the catcher who would place them in the join, and then the third man would come with a mallet and make sure they were nice and secure. So moved the location of Government House, which was to our right where the Sydney Museum is now. He moved it over to the harbour foreshore, thinking it was a much more appropriate and grand place for a governor to reside rather than up here away from the action. In fact, the building that you can see in front of us here, this white building, is actually the stables relating to the new Government House. It was built in 1811. These days they are not stables, it is the Conservatorium of Music, but fairly grand for a centre stage. 1805, we had 6 separate colonies all around Australia. We had prison colonies in Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales, Queensland and Western Australia. And South Australia had started to attract the majority of free settlers. In fact, there was never a convict colony in South Australia. Most of those that came to South Australia were in fact German heritage. And so there is a very strong German flavour to a lot of towns to farm here in the community.
Botanic gardens.
Yeah. These days, as you can see, it is a very popular place, even on a wet Monday, for people to walk, enjoy a little bit of outside from their office buildings. We have concerts here in the Domain, we have carols by candlelight, we have music festivals.
And we have small stop during the city tour. Little bit of rain. Behind me you can see botanical gardens, and we stopped by the viewpoint of Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. That's obviously leading theme in Sydney, so we're gonna see a lot of that. Look at this. Wow.
Oh, come on, sun, rain, stop. Prisoners to ever go onto Pinchgut Island. So I just get everyone to take a step in, thank you. To ever go onto Pinchgut Island
Right
was
here.
an Irish convict by the name of Francis Morgan. Francis Morgan was a convicted murderer. He had murdered several people back in Ireland, and he was convicted to transportation for the term of his natural life. So never to be allowed to return to Ireland. Now at this point in the colony we did have prisons, and so he was transferred straight from the ship to the prison. Within 3 months he had murdered 3 of his fellow inmates and a prison guard. So he was sent over to Pinchgut. Here in Sydney, your median house price in the eastern suburbs area is around $20 million. And it is also home to 2 of the last large privately owned estates here in Sydney as well. We're going to go past one of them in just a second.
What's the name of the area?
This is Point Piper. The board may be old enough to remember when Sir Elton John married a woman. That's where he married her.
Really?
On the 14th of February 1984. He had mining interests up in the Blue Mountains to the west of Sydney, and he built this wonderful house for himself and his family. He sold this property to the Anglican Church. But this is Rose Bay. Rose Bay was home to Australia's first international airport. Where is the runway, you are asking?
Yeah, where's the runway?
Out there. The first boats that would fly between Sydney and London were Catalina flying boats. That genocide continued. There are no native Tasmanian Aboriginals left. They completely wiped out the Tasmanian population. It is estimated just 50 years after colonisation there were less than 50,000 Indigenous folk left in Australia. Due to the genocide, due to the introduction of diseases, obviously they didn't have things like influenza, smallpox, measles. They had none of that here before the Europeans brought it. And also alcohol. Now, as I mentioned, I don't know if I did mention, rum was the official currency of the colony until 1818. Once a uneasy truce and integration of the whites and the Aboriginals started to occur, they would pay the Aboriginals with alcohol. Now, Aboriginals had never had anything as intense as alcohol before.
Yeah.
And so even today there is a massive issue with our Indigenous population in regards to alcoholism and drug addiction. At its deepest point, it is over 70 metres in depth. In fact, we were lucky enough to have a whale come and visit us up in the upper reaches of the harbour about 3 weeks ago. Got a little bit lost.
The harbour entrance.
Highway. There is a whale.
Largest and deepest in the world.
So until 1903, it was illegal to swim in the ocean during daylight hours. I know, ridiculous, right?
Yeah. I am at the Bondi Beach, one of the most famous tourist beaches in Australia. We drove on our tour to see it. It's, from what I've learned, not where locals go necessarily. In summer, there is a serious fight for every spot of the sand, but for now, since it's Australian winter, we don't have many people, but the color of the water is just spectacular. Have a look at this.